Who are you? Spider-Man.
Andrew Garfield appearing in Spider-Man 3 No Way Home can finally give him the credit that he deserves, because he was actually the best and greatest Spider-Man ever. Garfield inherited the role of the web-slinger from Tobey Maguire and rebooted the phenomenally successful Spider-Man trilogy directed by Sam Raimi. Garfield's headline in 2012 The Amazing Spider-Man and 2014 Amazing Spider-Man 2. Despite doing well at the box office, Garfield's films aren't well regarded by fans, which call it how his tenure as Spider-Man is perceived. The Amazing Spider-Man suffered right out of the gate because it was regarded as an unnecessary rehash of Peter Parker's origin story, just with some new twists borrowed from the Ultimate Spider-Man comics published by Marvel. Fans were expecting Spider-Man 4, directed by Sam Raimi, which would bring Tobey Maguire and Kirsten Dunst's saga to a better conclusion than the maligned Spider-Man 3. But instead, Sony opted for a full reboot in Amazing Spider-Man that took cues from Christopher Nolan's gritty Dark Knight trilogy. For the Spider-Man 2, Sony and Webb took a garish, more cartoony route with Jamie Foxx's Electro, but the studio also wanted to use the sequel to build out its Sinister Six movie and create a Spider-Man shared universe to rival Marvel Studios. But when that failed, Sony went directly to Marvel for a second Spider-Man reboot, integrating Tom Holland's new Spidey into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Lost in the entire corporate mess and a pair of underwhelming movies was Andrew Garfield, a self-professed lifelong Spider-Man fan who heroically delivered a unique take on both Peter Parker and the Wall Crawler that basically stood apart from Maguire's version. Garfield's Peter was an even more damaged soul than Maguire's. The orphan heart felt the loss of his parents, although Peter later discovered that his dead father's experiments are the source of his spider powers. In the keeping with the reboot's darkness, Garfield's Parker was grungy, awkward, and alienated. But as Spider-Man, Peter found the true hero within and let it loose. Although his actions sometimes led to tragedy, still Garfield was charming in the role. Further, because of his height and slim build, Garfield looked more like Spider-Man while wearing his costume. He had the angular physique of the classic comic book Wallcrawler, and Garfield went the extra mile by doing yoga and taking gymnastics to bring a convincing physicality as the Amazing Spider-Man. Although Garfield's original dark-hued spider suit designed by Soleil drew mixed reviews, his costume in Amazing Spider-Man 2 was perfect and arguably better than what Maguire wore. More so, Andrew properly displayed Spider-Man's famed comic book wit, unlike Maguire's webhead. Garfield bantered and cracked jokes when he fought crime, as Spider-Man always do, so he seemed to be having much more fun as the web-slinger than any other thing. Garfield's Peter also got to be the genius scientist he's supposed to be in the comics, and he finally brought Spider-Man's artificial web shooters to the big screen. Of course, Garfield's Peter is probably most defined by his romance with Gwen Stacy, which was an improvement over Maguire's hot and cold affair with Mary Jane Watson, which became a tiresome love triangle with Harry Osborn. Gwen was even smarter and definitely more mature then, but she fell hard for him and he proved to be worth her while. When Gwen quickly found out Peter was Spider-Man, she stuck by him despite the death of her father, Captain George Stacy. Gwen briefly broke off with Pete in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, but the relationship and the real-life chemistry between Stone and Garfield was the highlight of both films until Gwen was killed off at the end of the sequel. The MCU Spider-Man 3 is an ideal occasion to put Andrew Garfield's Peter in a mentor position to Tom Holland's teenage Spidey, and this should bring all of the best qualities of the web slinger to the surface. Garfield's Spider-Man has been through the ringer, faced deadly enemies, saved New York City, and stood as his own man. The Garfield Spider-Man has known plenty of death, especially Gwen's, and tragedy, but he's also irrelevant, witty, and he can banter with Tom Holland and Tobey Maguire, whatever due necessary. Spider-Man 3 will hopefully remind fans that Garfield's Wallcrawler is a true superhero who stands up for the little guy and puts himself on the line like a great Spider-Man should. And that's pretty much it for the video. Just wanted to talk a little bit on why I think that Amazing Spider-Man Andrew Garfield's version is a worthy Spider-Man needs to be mentioned. And if the Spider-Man 3 is going to bring him in, I will be so excited to see that. Let me know your own thoughts in the comment section below. Like the video if you love Spider-Man, and subscribe if you love everything superheroes, because I'm gonna get in a lot in this video. Do want to check out my other videos as well, they are as interesting as this one, and I hope to see you in another one when you subscribe to the channel. See you next time. Peace.